Hello, everyone, and welcome to UC Berkeley. We're so excited to have you today on our virtual panel. Before we even get started, I just wanted to acknowledge that there's a lot happening in the world, so we're super grateful that you guys are taking an hour out of your day to join us today. With that, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Kristina. I use the she, her, hers pronouns. I'm originally from Whittier, California. I'm a third year going on to my fourth year here at UC Berkeley. I study industrial engineering and operations research, so I'm in the College of Engineering. Aside from being involved in the College of Engineering and being a campus ambassador, I'm part of the UC Rally Committee, which is a spirit group on campus, and various other STEM-related clubs. But I'll be today's moderator, so I'll be kind of asking the questions throughout today's panel. Feel free to use a Q&A function to let us know what type of questions you have today. We'll either answer them in typed format with some campus ambassadors on the back end, or we'll answer them live. It's a 1 hour panel with Q&A. Chat is disabled. Type all your questions in the Q&A. If you need any more info after this panel, feel free to go to visit.berkeley.edu to find other virtual visits, other resources that we have, or you can email us at tour@berkeley.edu with further questions. But with that, that's my little spiel. I'll hand it off to all of our lovely panelists so they can introduce themselves.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michael. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm from the hometown of San Ramon, California, which is around 30 minutes away from Berkeley, no traffic. So I am in Berkeley's backyard here in the East Bay. I am a rising junior, a sophomore last year, studying data science and hoping to minor in computer science. Some of my involvement on campus includes Greek life. I was admitted under the fall program for freshmen, so I spent my first semester here at Cal taking classes with a smaller class size and professors that both taught their discussions and their lectures. And also I write for the Bear Talk blog, which you will be able to check out. I think we're gonna have a link for it here soon.
Hi, everyone. My name's Sophia, and I go by the pronouns she, her, and hers. And I'm originally from Glendale, California, which is just outside Los Angeles. And I just finished up my freshman year, so I'm excited to get back on campus soon and see what else Cal has to offer. But I am planning on majoring in environmental economics and policy, and potentially doing a double major in history or maybe a minor in history. Aside from being a campus ambassador, I'm involved with BEEPS, which stands for Environmental Economics and Policy Students at Berkeley, which is sort of just a smaller group to foster community surrounding my major. And I'm also working as a dockhand at Cal Adventures, which is at the Berkeley Marina, and I help rent out paddleboarding, kayaking, and sailboating equipment to Cal students, which is super fun. And then I also joined Hermanos Unidos at the end of last semester, which is one of Berkeley's many student groups to foster community surrounding the Latinx community here on campus.
And hello, my name is Katia. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm originally from Mountain View, California, which is also in the San Francisco Bay Area, about an hour south of Berkeley. I just graduated about a month ago now with a major in chemistry, so I'm a very proud alumni of the university now. A few of the things that I was involved with on campus in my time at Cal, I danced traditional Mexican dancing, ballet folklorico. I did Cal Teach, which is a STEM education minor program. I was involved with the environmental community in various jobs and clubs. I did organic chemistry research because that's my major, and it's kind of exciting to explore that. And then one more thing I'll add is I also have the opportunity to study abroad at the University of Cape Town, South Africa. So if any of that interests you, please do feel free to ask questions as you go along with the panel today.
Hey, thank you to all of our panelists for introducing themselves. As you can see, we all have experience either in study abroad, in research, in different facets of the university. So again, feel free to type any and all questions in the Q&A function. Okay, but with that, we're going to stop sharing screen and we're going to go straight into our live questions for the day. Okay, so let me bring those up. Okay, so first question that we have is going to be directed at Katia. Someone asked, what is there to do off campus? What is there to do in the city of Berkeley, especially for students who because of the pandemic, they haven't been able to step on campus and kind of give them an overview of what Berkeley's like.
Definitely. I guess as the oldest panelist here today, I have a little bit more time in Berkeley that I've had over my years. I was pretty lucky to spend 2 or 3 years kind of on campus and in the city of Berkeley. Something that I totally did not expect when I kind of signed up and enrolled at UC Berkeley was that we have such a wonderful balance of kind of urban and also the outdoors. And so I consider myself a really outdoorsy person, really active as well. If you are also, you'll find that we have these fire trails, which are awesome foot trails right behind our campus. And that's an awesome way to kind of de-stress in your mornings or your afternoons or go on a hike with your friends on the weekends. On top of that, I mentioned that we also are pretty urban. And so if that's kind of more you're seeing, you like checking out different food places, you like shopping at eclectic stores. Telegraph Avenue is basically the main avenue that we have running right next to campus. And that's the way I walked home from school freshman year back to my dorm. I would stop at a thrift shop. I would stop at a cool eatery with the cuisine I've never tried before. And so there's so many just opportunities there just because there's so many local businesses and so many fun things to explore there. On top of that, if you just hop on a bus, or we also have our BART, which is the subway system in the San Francisco Bay Area. That's free or very low cost as a Berkeley student. And that will take you to so many places. It'll take you to the city of Oakland, which is just adjacent to Berkeley. You can even hop on a free bus to take you over to San Francisco. And so as you can imagine, you have not only everything in Berkeley, but everything beyond as well, literally within minutes away. I think you can get to the city in like an hour on that free bus as well. And so I personally grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I thought I'd really seen it all. I'm like a pretty adventurous person, but I can honestly say that 3 years on campus for me wasn't enough to really see everything that was around. There's just so much to do, even off campus. The second you step foot off campus, you're immersed in like this beautiful city. And there's so much to explore. I really think there's something for everybody. On top of that, if you have a car, as a lot of people become upperclassmen, you have even more ability to explore. If not, you can carpool, and there are just so many amazing parks, and you can go to the ocean, just take little weekend getaways as well. So Berkeley, I think as a location, especially when you compare it to the other University of California schools, is super duper underrated, and you're gonna just find that there's so much kind of around us.
Oh my God, thank you for that, Katia. Definitely a lot of recommendations on like what you can do. And I think you can make the most out of UC Berkeley and everything that's around it. I'm not sure if Sophia or Michael have anything to add. I think Katia did a pretty good job of describing what's available around the area. Okay, perfect. Seems like we got our question answered. Okay. So one thing that you mentioned, Katia, is that Berkeley's in an urban area, and that might be different for a lot of students coming from smaller towns. So one question for Michael is, actually, where was it? Oh, actually for Sophia. Since Berkeley is in an urban area, how safe is it around campus? Have you felt safe around campus? Any resources that UC Berkeley has to make sure students feel safe in an urban area?
Yeah, that's such a great question. Especially considering that Berkeley is located in an urban metropolitan atmosphere. It's totally reasonable to have questions and potential concerns about safety. I know I was like a little bit worried about that coming in as a freshman, especially like when campus wasn't even open entirely, and we were online, but I was still living on campus. You know, a lot of things were up in the air. But Berkeley as an institution and as a community does so much to make sure that their students feel safe and are physically safe on campus. We have, several different programs to foster a community of awareness. And we generally just look out for each other as well, which is something I picked up on immediately upon coming to campus, which I think is, just like an integral part of being a Berkeley student. But some specific programs that come to mind are our blue light system. So if you've ever been on a college campus, you might be familiar with like these blue light poles, which are kind of scattered throughout campus and like in the surrounding area. And basically, if you ever have a safety concern when you're out and about on your own or with some friends or anything, you can just interact with the button, which is on the poles, and a safety officer will be there to help you out with whatever problem you have. So those are just really an assuring safety feature that we have on campus. We also have something called Bearwalk, which I've not been able to use yet, but basically if you're studying on campus late at night or just find yourself somewhere on campus late at night, Berkeley has this really awesome program that's student run where they've trained several different Berkeley students to basically escort the students home late at night. And I've also heard that those conversations can be a lot of fun and you can meet new friends and, you know, foster cool relationships that way. So it's sort of like a win-win situation. And then we also have like various shuttle programs that can take you home via a bus if you're not so much into walking. But yeah, we also have, you know, a bunch of other safety programs. Those are just some of the more popular ones.
Sorry, couldn't unmute myself there. But yeah, thank you, Sophia. I think just knowing about the different resources we have, especially we have right when you come in, even before you step into your first class, we have Golden Bear orientation. And I know through that program, my orientation leader just kind of taught me a lot about the different resources that are available. They want to make sure from the day you step on campus, you know what's available and you know how to be safe and just be aware of your surroundings. So definitely, I've never been in a place where I've just like been uncomfortable at night or anything, walk with a friend or take fair transit or something like that. And I feel pretty safe on campus, even though it's in an urban area. Okay, so now we have a question that just came in through the Q&A function. And maybe Michael can start off with this, but I think we all might have different suggestions. So Michael, your data science major in the College of Letters and Science, Gloria asks, what classes would he suggest for an LNS incoming freshman looking for cool, underrated classes? Just classes you've taken that you haven't heard a lot about, but you've really just loved the experience from them.
Yeah, sure. So you mentioned data science. I think a way that everyone is really getting on right now is Data 8, which is a really cool class if you're thinking about maybe you want to learn how to code while you're here in college. Maybe you're interested in data science. There's a lot of requirements that Data 8 can fill. So a lot of people will give it a try. So since you mentioned data science, I think that's always a good one. Also, a thing that I think is really cool that Berkeley does is many different departments will host English classes. So usually everyone will have to take English unless you pass out of it with an SAT score or an ACT score. And I think choosing which department you take it in can really tailor your experience. So for example, I took an English R1B class in the History of Art department, and I had a total blast with my teacher. Not only did she teach me like how to write on like a sentence level that'd make my writing really easy to understand, but we also got to read about and discuss and develop ideas around really cool pieces of art from the last 100 years. And I thought that that was very cool. So whether that's in the History of Art department, the English department, the History department, some of the language departments even have their own English programs. We have the college writing seminars. There's a lot of different classes for English. And as someone who really felt impacted through his English classes, I think that that would be like a cool thing to kind of explore. And one last suggestion that I'd say that I really liked my class of cognitive science, because not only was it like a social science type of course, but it brought in so many different fields of knowledge. And not only did it help me with my major, because I'm going to have a domain emphasis in cognition. So not only did it fill a requirement, but I really felt that it could even almost change the way I think a little bit when approaching human behavior and how the brain works and how important your brain is. So that's a couple of classes that I liked. And my biggest tip would probably be choose an English class you think you'll like, because if you like your English class, you'll get a lot more out of it.
Yeah, completely agree, especially for those requirements. There's like an American cultures requirement that the UC system has that I think you should take full advantage of. I think my American cultures, I took a sociology, I forgot what course number it was, but it was a sociology upper division AC course. And that was probably one of the like best classes I ever had, even though it's nowhere like near related to engineering. So just like get the most out of those requirements, even if they're not major specific, because most of those classes are super interesting and you get a lot out of them. But yeah, Sophia or Katia, do you have anything to add on for just like underrated classes or just favorite classes overall?
Yeah, I can add one. Just this last semester, my last term at Cal, I took a class called Geography 72 AC. So it's, as Kristina mentioned, it's American Culture's requirement. It fulfills that. And it was called History of the Bay Area. My professor was fantastic, and he was asked by the course staff or by, I guess, the geography department to create this course. So I was kind of the first student the first time they offered this class. And as a Bay Area kind of native, I just thought it was so incredible to learn about the indigenous peoples and human geographies and kind of how the place came to be. And it was really, I think, a wonderful way to also end my time at Berkeley. And I almost wish that that was like a requirement for everybody at Berkeley, right? So we can understand the place where we are learning and the history behind it. So that's one that I just thought was super fun. I took just for kicks, and I just learned a lot kind of about the area, and it was just a great time. Yeah.
Well, in the back end chat, there's a lot of hype for that class. So definitely write that down if you plan on coming to Berkeley. It sounds like a fantastic class. Sophia, any last classes, anything that stands out in your past year here that you would recommend to incoming students?
Yeah, definitely. My first semester, I took a pretty popular class at Berkeley called Drugs in the Brain. And I honestly took the class because it sounded really interesting. And I didn't really know what to expect because I hadn't taken a class like that in high school or any sort of related class like that in high school. But Berkeley offers a lot of really unique classes with really exciting titles like Drugs in the Brain. And I found that it was really a lot more intersectional than I could have imagined, which was really, really exciting for me. We learned about like the historical, cultural, and political and biological dimensions of drug use in the United States and abroad, which was really meaningful in a lot of different ways and also really eye-opening and a really special experience, I would say, one that's unique to Cal.
Hey, there you go. We have at least 5 recommendations for different classes you can take while at Berkeley. So write those down and hopefully you guys can apply here one day and take one of those classes. Okay, so Q&A is going off right now. So we're gonna go over to another Q&A question. Next one is, how can an out-of-state student find their place at Berkeley? I don't think we have too many out-of-state. So Michael, I'll let you share a little bit about out-of-state experience.
Yeah, I am not out of state, but I can provide my 2 cents. And definitely, this is one of those questions where many opinions definitely will help you kind of find a way that you're going to attack this problem. So if any of the other ambassadors want to give their 2 cents, that would definitely be welcome. But the thing that I would recommend, and this helped me when I first got onto campus, is to try as many things as possible. So to put yourself in many places, try different clubs. If you want to try a sport, if you want to join Greek life, there are many different ways to do this. And Berkeley is such a large campus that we have so many different student organizations, 1,000 plus. There's bound to be a couple of places where you can find kind of your fit. And that's because Berkeley has such a large diversity of interests, opinions, and things that you can do. So for example, when I first got into campus, I applied to be a tour guide and I joined a fraternity. And this semester, going back, I wanted to meet some more people. So I'm going to apply to some data science clubs. There's many things that you can do. And my biggest advice would be just to try as many things as you can fit in your schedule and keep the ones that you like and maybe take a back seat on the ones that you're just iffy about.
Yeah, I completely agree. Even if you're an in-state student, I think the best way is to just get involved in clubs and just like join extracurriculars that you're passionate about, and then you'll make friends that way and make relationships and connections. So yeah, definitely echo everything that Michael said. And another really popular question that I think maybe Katia and Sophia can talk a little bit about. Michael kind of touched upon it, but there's a lot to do at UC Berkeley and there's a lot of popular extracurriculars. And how have you guys found is the best way to just get a good balance of academic and social life while at UC Berkeley? We can start off with Katia and then if Sophia has anything to add.
Yes, as a lot of incoming Berkeley students are, we kind of really filled our plates in high school. And so it makes sense that kind of when you step foot on Berkeley campus, you just want to join every club that's out there. I know I did that maybe my first week after our club fair. I signed up for 20 or so clubs, trying to go to all the club meetings. It was completely unsustainable. So it really is, I would say, finding those 3, 4, maybe 5 clubs that you can stick with. But I don't think you could possibly be active in anything more than that. For me, I really found a home in the rally committee. Kristina mentioned she was also in it as well. That was kind of the first big club I joined as a freshman. We go to the front row of the football games and cheer on our California Golden Bears. And that also just opened me up to a huge community as well. So that's a really big group we have on campus. In terms of how we kind of balance that with our academics, as I said, you are not invincible. You know, you are going to one of the best public universities in the world. And so just remind yourself of that. If your studies are harder than they've ever been for you, we all come in generally as really high achieving students from high school. If you find all of a sudden that your classes are consuming more of your time than you're used to, focus on that first. Take a step back. Some students don't even join really more than one club their first semester because the transition to college can be really hard. In many ways, I'll be honest, I kind of wish I did less clubs in my freshman year, and maybe I would have felt like I belonged a little bit more in the classroom. And so I really think that it's going to be a little bit experimental your first semester, but don't be afraid to kind of just like change it up and listen to how your experience is going at Berkeley, because it's definitely tough here. And at the end of the day, like, you will have so many years here, whether it's 2 years or 4 years, to like enjoy your time. And that's so much time to explore different clubs. I honestly didn't stick with any clubs really for more than 2 years. I just bounced around my whole time because there was so much to do. And so don't feel like you have to do it all at one time. You have time to explore. You can always add a new club. You can kind of stray away from a club, but you still always have those people kind of as a community that you can fall back on.
Yeah, I think that's a really great synopsis. But just to add on to that, I think like your first semester and honestly your entire freshman year is just a great opportunity to do some trial and error and see like what works for best for you. I know like my first semester I took like the minimum units required, which I think is 13, and I joined like 2 or 3 clubs. And I found that I had more time on my hands than I wanted. So then the next semester I signed up for a few more clubs. I got this job as campus ambassador. I got the job working at the marina, and that, you know, worked out really well for me. But yeah, there's definitely a learning curve. And I think like that's, you know, an experience shared by all incoming freshmen and college students across the country. So I think it's really important just to know that you're not alone, and, you know, everyone's going through that challenge of, you know, balancing your social and your academic life. But yeah, there are definitely tons of resources to help on both sides of that challenge, and especially at Berkeley, and I definitely made use of them. Also, my advisors were super helpful in just like hearing me out and like hearing how I was like struggling to reconcile the two, offering me direct resources or just offering their time to speak with me about some of the challenges I was facing. So I found them to be super helpful resources as well.
Yeah, basically you guys covered all from Sophia. Talk to your academic advisors, especially in that first semester. I think we all kind of struggle, and just like going to someone, like obviously they're going to tell you to like put academics first, but they also know we're college students and want a social life. So they'll be like, hey, what about we take a lighter load, take 12, 13 units this first semester and figure stuff out, and then take on, you know, 4 or 5 classes next semester to kind of even it out. So they'll definitely guide you in the right direction. And like Sophia was saying, they're super helpful, always there for their students. But follow-up question for Sophia, kind of on that same train of just like getting help and reaching out to people. Someone asked, what is this professor-student relationship like? How open are professors to talking to you? What has your experience been in office hours and just like that kind of relationship with either GSIs or professors?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And so I came from a really small high school, and I was really used to having close relationships with all my teachers and being in that small classroom setting, which can be the case at Cal, but often, you know, you're not in a class of like 20 kids here, aside from, you know, your smaller sections. But there are infinite ways to form close relationships with your professors. And I think it just depends on whether or not you want that relationship personally, because there are, a lot of ways to get to know your professors. Like, for example, through office hours, professors will make themselves available after class or before class, or honestly, if you email them, most of them are happy to schedule one-on-one meeting times with you. And they're, in my experience, they've all been super happy to do so. And I think a good example of this is last semester, I took a class about the history of human rights, and I was struggling to write this research paper. And so I just, expressed my concerns to my professor in a pretty succinct email, and he was super helpful in every way. He directed me to the human rights librarian, which I didn't know existed. And he also set up one-on-one meetings for like the 3 weeks preceding the due date for the paper, which I thought was honestly really, really generous, and something I wasn't expecting coming into Cal. And it just made the whole experience of writing that paper, a lot easier. And I think just generally Cal professors are really passionate about helping their students learn the subjects and keeping them engaged. And there are a lot of opportunities to form those close relationships.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't know if anyone else has any stories like coming out of office hours with the professor and just having a super close relationship after that. But I think most professors say at the beginning of the semester, come to office hours, I'm always alone, no one ever comes. And you're like, oh, people must go to office hours. But people really don't. They don't really take advantage of office hours as much as they could. So definitely recommend going to office hours, regardless of what college or university you go to. I think every professor will offer just a dedicated time to be in their office and have that time for students. And even in this last year, it's been even easier. You literally just go on a Zoom link and go to their office hours. You should probably leave your bed, but you really don't have to if you don't want to. You could put on a virtual background and it's all good. But yeah, definitely, I think the professors we have here really just value this students on campus, and they're super passionate about just teaching and super passionate about what they're teaching. So it just really shows. Okay, so next question we have, we're kind of just bouncing around, but we'll go to Michael for this question. And I think everyone can share. Someone just asked, what was your freshman experience like? And overall, any recommendations for best places to study or hang out on campus to someone who, again, hasn't been on campus before?
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question. I think I'll kind of bounce all over the place. I had an absolute blast my freshman year. I had a lot of memories. A lot of them came at the Cal Stadium, which was super fun because our student section, where all the students sit during the game, is right on the 50-yard line. And it was so much fun. Not only did we get really hyped for all the games, cheer a bunch, we were with all of our friends, but I also had the opportunity to meet Oski, which is our mascot, in the student section. He was parting the student section like the Red Sea, and somehow I was able to put my arm around him and grab him for 2 seconds, and my friend snapped a picture. So a lot of my favorite memories did come kind of with the spirit of Cal. We have so much spirit here. Game days, and just in general, that really made a lot of my freshman year. And then also the dorms were a really great experience for me as well. It was definitely my home base. I made a lot of buddies in my dorm. I had the best roommate, and we'd always find little things to do to make life interesting or whatever. We'd always go talk to our RA, and we'd have little get-togethers with our friends and just do a bunch of silly things that made it memorable. And a lot of people in the dorms actually are looking for friends, and they're looking to kind of make memories. So definitely when you first get here at Cal, reach out to your dorm people, because a lot of them just want to hang out and have a good time. As far as places I like to go on campus, I definitely have a lot. I'm definitely a view chaser, so I like to find all the lookout points where I can go, like look at the bay, the Golden Gate Bridge, the San Francisco skyline, just listen to the music. So one of my favorite places is right at the base of the Campanile. You have a direct view to the Golden Gate Bridge that like frames it perfectly between the trees. You kind of have to see it to know what I'm talking about, but I definitely would go there. Study spots, Gardner Main Stacks library was definitely my favorite. It's this underground library where the university keeps all of its books. And I would go there because it was probably the quietest space on campus. And it seemed like I could get like 3 hours of work done in 2. And because of that, I called it the Dungeon of Productivity. That's definitely a good place. And if you're looking to kind of get a little bit off campus, but not too far, I would definitely say the fire trails. Or if you want to like get a little gig car, or you have a car, or one of your friends has a car, I'd go up to Grizzly Peak. That is my favorite spot ever since high school. And I like to just go up there. It's great for peace of mind. If you want to take a friend and just chill out, it's the perfect place to like unwind and like put Berkeley into perspective, because it has the best view probably I've seen like in the East Bay. You can see the San Francisco skyline, the Bay Bridge, the Golden Gate Bridge, downtown Oakland, the water. You can see everything. So those are some of my places, some of my experiences that I liked with my freshman year. And I'm sure there's many more, and I could talk forever, but I definitely want to give our other people a chance to answer this question if they so choose.
The question is the freshman experience, right?
Yes.
Yeah, just overall, what was freshman experience like? Best places that you found as a first year, dorm life, really anything that has to do with your freshman year.
Well, I think Michael said it really well. I agree with a lot of what you said. And I'll also just add that just like coming to college, I feel like I was like at home, I had like a pretty strict curfew. I never like drove on my own. I just feel like I wasn't very independent. I was very dependent on my family, and I never really reached out. And I just really loved kind of just the freedom of living on my own for the first time, even though I was in the dorms. It was just the perfect mix. Having, students that are your exact age living around you, I think was so fun. But we also had study lounges on our floors. So that's still a reminder that you have to be productive at some points, right? Kind of mix that balance of play with also studying. On top of that, the meal plan was something that was really important to me that kind of comes with the dorms, and that just kept me well fed. I think when you're living on your own for the first time, you kind of forget to take care of yourself sometimes, forget to cook for yourself, forget to take care of your health. So that really made it easy for me, so I could really focus kind of on socializing, on my academics, and on my extracurriculars as well. So I think my freshman experience was definitely a really memorable year of Berkeley. And when I think back on it, I just have like such positive memories. And sometimes I wish it could still be as simple as it was back then.
Yeah, my freshman experience was definitely a little bit different than Katia and Michael's, but still a very positive experience overall. The first semester I actually spent at home doing online school in my bedroom, which, wasn't ideal, but I was able to actually make a lot of close friends online, mainly due to the resources that Berkeley provided for me. Kristina mentioned GBO, which was, honestly an integral part of the forming of those friendships. And basically I got to be connected with people who were pursuing similar academic goals and extracurricular goals as well. So that was definitely a really great experience for me. And then I was able to live on campus or in the dorms, in Berkeley's dorms, my second semester. And so I was able to meet some of the people that I had formed relationships with online, which was really awesome. And, I wasn't able to, attend Berkeley on campus, but I think it's affirming to know that the fact that I had a really awesome freshman year online, it just, I think it says a lot about how much Berkeley is willing to do for its students and how great its resources are, despite the fact that I wasn't in person. But yeah, definitely a good year.
Okay, Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for all sharing. I think it's good to get different perspectives on, obviously, Katia and Michael and Sophia all had very different experiences in terms of their freshman year and what that was like. One thing that Sophia mentioned a lot was just like the different resources that UC Berkeley has, going from GBO or just like other resources to make sure that students are meeting other people, especially during this past year when a lot of students weren't on campus or even in the dorms and were at home. And I just wanted to quickly, if you guys could just give me like a quick 1 minute thing of just what you guys think are some underutilized resources at UC Berkeley, whether it be research-based, academic-based, like anything at all that you just think, hey, this is a really cool resource that Berkeley has and I've utilized and it's actually like really helped me. So Sophia kind of already mentioned, but we can just quickly go around, and I think it's just cool to just mention some of the resources that were provided. And yeah, we can start with Katia and then everyone can go around.
Yeah, one thing for me was kind of discovering all the tutoring resources we have. So we probably already briefly mentioned today, but our Student Learning Center, or SLC, is free peer-to-peer tutoring on campus, right in the middle of campus. And that is in a bunch of different subjects. And I just really found that was so helpful to me. In addition, they also offer adjunct courses, which is a supplemental discussion course to some big classes, like math classes, for example. And that's just kind of make sure that you're really on track to get an A or B in that class by just offering you that extra support. It really made me feel like I belonged in my classroom and like I could succeed in a subject that didn't feel like was my strong suit. And then last but not least, another tutoring resource that I think is super underutilized is we actually have tutoring in our residential halls as well. So every dorm generally has tutors every evening, and that means you don't have to walk to campus. You literally just walk down from your dorm, and there are tutors that normally don't have any students that they're helping. So that's one that I would definitely recommend.
I can give this one a stab at well. Definitely agree with the dorm tutoring too. I have one of my friends who was a dorm tutor, and all he did was just sit there, and he's like, I wish people would come by and ask for help. So I went to him for help, but other people didn't. So definitely take advantage of that. Other things that I think are important in terms of resources is just people in your clubs and like your friends, anyone that's really in like your social circle. UC Berkeley students are actually very collaborative. They like to help. They like to discuss, challenge ideas, and even just help out their friends because it helps them solidify their understanding. So I did love the SLC. I did love office hours, all these great things that we're talking about. Just to add something different, I think your friends are a great point of contact for you. For example, in my fraternity, I have a lot of brothers in the data science club, and and I was wondering, oh, maybe I want to do this, maybe I don't. And they convinced me to apply because they had a lot of fun. And without that knowledge, I probably would have applied to different clubs, or maybe not even applied at all. So your friends are a great way for you to kind of understand campus, schoolwork. They can help there too. But definitely keep contact with the people in your clubs, the people in your circle, and develop those relationships because they are very helpful.
Yeah, I'll just echo the praises about the SLC. I know last semester I was really struggling in my calculus class, and my advisor actually pointed out several different resources offered by the SLC, and I was able to form a few different study groups that way and make some friends in my calculus class that were able to make the class and preparing for the tests just so much easier. And I ended up learning a lot more than I expected because of those resources. And so definitely very grateful for that. Socially, I think a resource that's underutilized is the Cal Adventures program at the Berkeley Marina. When I was working there last semester, I really noticed how underutilized it was, and it's so cool. So I was like really bummed about that. But literally you can go to the marina and rent all this cool equipment. Like I mentioned earlier, like paddle, you can do paddle boarding, sailboating, and kayaking free of charge because you're a Berkeley student, which is so awesome. I remember my first time going out on the water, I was like, am I dreaming? The water was like super glassy. I could see the Golden Gate Bridge and all of San Francisco. I could see the Campanile and all of Berkeley too, from just this little boat in the water. And it was like the most magical experience ever. And I think everyone at Berkeley should do it. The guy that actually hired me that works there, he said that most Berkeley students will come by the water as seniors and just be like, where has this been all my life? So definitely an underutilized resource.
Yeah, I think you could literally just walk around campus and you'll see buildings, you won't realize that there's like actual resources and offices in them. Like if you literally cross the building right across from Cesar Chavez, where we have the Student Learning Center, is not Eshelman, MLK Junior Student Building, and there's a Basic Needs Center in there. There is Transfer Student Center right across. There's just like any identity group or any sort of like resources that you need, even just like basic needs, like a food pantry, stuff like that. It's all on UC Berkeley's campus and all literally like walking distance away from your classes. So definitely just like get informed about different resources and take advantage of them. Because yeah, you might get to your senior year and be like, where has this been? I've had 4 years of being able to go like paddleboarding for free and I haven't gone. So definitely take advantage of the different resources on campus. Okay, that was a really good question. So a question came in asking, how would you best describe UC Berkeley's personality, its key values, and what type of student will thrive here? We can start with Michael, and if anyone has anything else to add, again, feel free to do so.
Yeah, I absolutely love this question, and I have a couple of things I definitely want to talk about. But the first thing I definitely want to say is UC Berkeley is it seems perhaps the word is close knit. Maybe you'll see what I'm talking about, but the campus is very close. Like it's 15 minutes by 20-minute walk. The city flows right into the campus. You can use the BART station to get to, or excuse me, I should say the Bay Area Rapid Transit, the BART station, which is basically a train station which can get you most places in the Bay Area at a discount because you're a student. So connected might be the right word, but UC Berkeley is built into the city, it's built into the Bay Area, and it's a great way to take advantage of your surroundings. Another thing I want to say is everyone in Berkeley believes in something. And the way I like to put this in perspective is our school's motto is Fiat Lux, which means that everyone is trying to build their worldview. They're trying to discover the light or their light, and they want to challenge their thinking. They want to adopt new ideas. They want to change their thinking. There's a lot of people who really want to have awesome conversations, get to know each other, respect each other's diversity. And it's awesome to see because you'll see a lot of people come into Berkeley, change their thinking altogether, or you'll see people that come to Berkeley and really understand why they believed in those things to begin with. And I think both of those are a very cool thing to happen. And that's just because of the culture that Berkeley really builds. And two other things I want to touch on is entrepreneurship and social justice. Berkeley definitely fosters a culture of entrepreneurship, not just with all the programs and entrepreneurship that they have through the business school, but just in general, they want students to chase their dreams, especially if that's entrepreneurship. And one example I always like to give is one of my fraternity brothers took a semester off this last semester, employed 8 people and started 2 companies, which are getting off the ground right now. And he's having an absolute blast. And they're selling motor-powered bikes to the police force. And they really addressed a need that people didn't really know was there, which I think is really cool. And the last thing is social justice. You'll see a lot of protests on campus, but not just protests, people really trying to debate ideas and make change for their community. And if this is your if this is what you like to do, Berkeley is a great place to do it. Also, if it's not, and you're a little bit less politically inclined like me, you can also kind of be there and not participate in it. But it's definitely there if you want to have it. And I think Berkeley is the prime place to do it if that is right up your alley.
Oh, Katia, I'll let you go.
Okay, yeah. Everything that Michael just said, I think he really hit the nail on the head. Berkeley is such a special place. One thing I just want to emphasize that you kind of already touched on was that our students are like pretty intellectual and really intelligent. That's kind of what it takes to get into Berkeley. And that means that you have these really fascinating conversations outside of the classroom. Like you'll be at a social event and then people are talking about like whatever theory you learned in your physics class that day, or people are challenging each other. You use that word as well, challenge. And I just think that's so cool that we are like pushing each other to be better every day, kind of challenging the status quo. And it's just so interesting that like, even in the most casual of settings, that we're always trying to be like, smarter and to learn more about the world around us. And that's something that I think is pretty unique to Berkeley. I've lived in various places throughout my life, but I just love those conversations you have at the end of a long night, which is other Berkeley students and you're sitting on your couch together, just learning about something totally crazy.
Yeah, I'll just add on to that quickly. I think Berkeley does a really great job of affirming diversity on campus. And you can see it reflected in so many ways, even like the architecture. I just love that Berkeley's like architecturally diverse. But anyways, in terms of its students and its faculty, Berkeley does a really great job of making sure that all identities are not only represented on campus, but actively feel like they belong and have a place and a home on campus. And I certainly have felt that way after my freshman year. I can confidently say that there are so many resources socially and academically to make you feel that way. And the professors themselves also go out of their way to make sure that they're catering to every individual's needs. And, you know, that's a very challenging thing to take on, but I think Berkeley does such a great job of it. And, you know, it's really important to me that the school I attend does that. So I can confidently say that Berkeley does do a great job of affirming all the identities that make up its student body.
Yeah, okay, I think we covered everything that kind of is Berkeley's key values. I think for sure we're kind of like change makers and we try to, you know, make change in a positive way. A lot of times like students like kind of asking the university to make changes for itself and, you know, acknowledge certain groups or do stuff like that. That's something, you know, Berkeley students aren't afraid to speak out, whether it's, you know, against a university or it's like for it. UC Berkeley students are super passionate. I think that's like one word that I think like best encompasses a Berkeley student. They're just super passionate, whether it be about academics, whether it be about like house spirit, they're passionate about something and they can like talk about it for hours. So that's something really cool that you'll hopefully encounter if you get to visit Berkeley's campus in person one day. Really quickly, before we go on to our last question, someone asked if anyone here has done study abroad and just their experiences with that. So I know Katia has, so if Katia, you want to really quickly just talk about the study abroad program and your experience.
Yeah, so we have our UCEAP, which stands for our University Education Abroad program, and that's actually the same program you're going to find that spans all of our University of California or UC schools. So whichever you go to, you're going to have the same opportunities. But I had the privilege of studying abroad in Cape Town, South Africa at the university there about a year ago. It was spring 2020 before the pandemic shut everything down. And it was just really the most fabulous experience of my life. Outside my major, which I thought was fun, I actually was able to set up with my chemistry advisor so that I could essentially take a semester off of my major, and I just took really fun classes that I wanted to explore. On top of that, I also joined a research lab, so I continued to do organic chemistry research while I was there. And the most important part was that I joined so many fun clubs. So I was in the hiking club, the surfing club, and the scuba diving club, and it really was just as fun as it sounded. I just had an amazing balance of kind of meeting people from South Africa, meeting students from countries around the world, living in a different environment and still learning there as well. wherever you want to go, whatever major you are, there probably is a program out there that you'd be interested in. We don't just have kind of semester exchange programs at universities abroad. We also have global internships, so you can actually kind of have a work experience abroad. And we also have summers abroad as well. So if that's something you can't fit into your schedule normally otherwise, a lot of students are able to go abroad for a summer. In terms of the current state of kind of study abroad, I believe that all summer 2021 abroad has been canceled because of COVID, but select fall programs are supposed to be running right now, and it definitely probably will open up more kind of as the world opens up. So I honestly know maybe one other person in my major that studied abroad, but the second I stepped foot on campus, I knew that was something I wanted to be part of my Berkeley experience. And I have to say that was probably my favorite semester at Cal, despite the fact that Cal is so wonderful. So study abroad is definitely something that I think a lot of people speak highly about.
Hey, thank you, Katia. Okay, so I think we got most of the questions from the Q&A answered, and we have two last questions that I'm gonna just kind of morph / join together. First one is, why did you choose Berkeley? And second is, what made Berkeley stand out from the other UCs for you? So yeah, if you guys kind of want to talk a little bit, just how you got here and why you decided to come to UC Berkeley specifically. We can start with Michael, then Sophia, then Katia, just overall your Berkeley story.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'll kind of start with the second part, which is like comparing Berkeley to other schools. There are a lot of great other schools out there. I think one thing that Berkeley really does differently, and you can really feel it, is the things that I was saying earlier. Berkeley is a very close-knit, connected campus. It's a small campus, which you will find that is really good for just keeping students engaged in the campus. Like if it's exploring the city, if it's the clubs, people are really close-knit here. And also everything that I was saying about students really trying to figure out what their worldview is, debating each other, very intellectual community. That's what I think really sets Berkeley apart from different schools. As far as my Berkeley story, so my Berkeley story actually definitely started in high school, as I was always kind of obsessed with the area. When I got my driver's license and my parents were okay with me driving outside of our little 20-minute radius, the thing that I would do every weekend is I would come out to Berkeley. I would enjoy the views, the lookouts of the bay, and I would come to the Berkeley campus and eat at a really cool restaurant. And that was what we would do, me and my friends would do every weekend. And so I always had in the back of my mind that I wanted to go to Berkeley because I just loved everything about the city. So when it was time to start applying to colleges, of course I applied to Berkeley and other places, but I got waitlisted. So I committed to a whole nother university. I was getting excited to go there. And I told myself if I were to get into Berkeley, I would make a decision purely based off of data, spreadsheets. I would compare them super nitty gritty and make the best decision for me. And it was really funny because as soon as I got off the wait list and Berkeley said, congratulations, you're admitted, I probably accepted my offer of admission within 5 minutes. They're saying that was just so emotional about getting into Cal. And it felt right, which I think is a really gut feel is really underrated when it comes to picking your college, because Berkeley definitely had the it factor for me. And I definitely found that in my time here, that's because Berkeley does literally everything so well. Obviously, we have top-notch academics, but we're also one of those schools where you can get a top-notch education, but and still enjoy your school spirit. Go to football games and have a lot of fun with your friends there. There's a lot of awesome clubs. There's a huge diversity of interests because of how big the campus is. And also one thing that was big for me is Berkeley's Greek life system is very progressive. I think they handled themselves pretty well, definitely when compared to other schools. So I might not be in that if it weren't for the Berkeley spin. And there's just so many other things that I can point to, like, for example, the connection to the Bay Area. Like no other school is going to have the connections that we do when it comes to Silicon Valley and San Francisco, because Berkeley is just such a high regarded name. And also the leisure opportunities. You can explore the whole, when you go to Berkeley, the whole Bay Area is at your fingertips, which is something that is very, very, very unrelated. and you don't even need a car to have it at your fingertips. Like, the city is so well connected, it's so close knit, and I think that's the best thing when it comes to UC Berkeley.
I love your Berkeley story, Michael. I think I definitely resonate with that like visceral feeling of choosing Berkeley for so many reasons. But my Berkeley story actually starts as a little kid. My parents both met at Berkeley actually, and so I grew up coming to Cal games and like familiarizing myself with the campus and like the larger Bay Area. I also had family living in Alameda, so I was generally like pretty familiar with Berkeley as an area and as an institution. And so, you know, like a lot of little kids do, I totally like romanticized Berkeley. It was my dream school, you know, at such a young age. But when it came time to apply to colleges, I was sort of at a crossroads because I'd gone to small schools my entire life. And I, you know, kind of saw myself continuing that path, going to maybe like a smaller liberal arts school far away from California. That was sort of the plan. And Berkeley was always like in the back of my head as like this exception to that plan. I just never thought I would get in. It was like this unattainable dream. And so when I got all my decisions back, I was faced with like this ultimate decision. I think that's so funny. Like when you apply to colleges, that's like a very challenging experience in and of itself. But the most challenging part is like picking where you're actually going to go. And I just didn't anticipate, you know, how challenging that would be for me. But I returned to the values and the characteristics I noticed at such a young age. And I really saw something special about Berkeley's culture. And it was just something that I needed to be a part of. I think I was really infatuated by this history of change making and student activism, and not only the way that the students, you know, reflected that passion in their activism, but the way that the university supported it, I thought was really special and unique to Cal. And so again, it was just like this visceral decision for me, and I definitely have no regrets.
Cool. And then I will wrap it up. I agree with both of what y'all said. So many of those factors also drew me to the university. I myself, when I applied to college, I only applied to 3 schools. They were all UC schools, so I already had limited myself in that way. And yet Berkeley was the last choice of those 3 schools that I was looking at. And as it came closer to this date to enroll, it kind of just became really clear it was the place for me. I'm a chemistry major, and Berkeley has over 150 years of world-renowned chemistry. It's literally the best chemistry in the world has happened at Berkeley. And I remember I just got chills when I heard that. And I have professors that they were students in other professors' labs, and then the professor's lab that they were in was like a Nobel Prize winner or something like that. So just an amazing lineage in the chemistry department. On top of that location, despite being from the Bay Area, I realized it's completely different. The East Bay is such a vibrant place, and I just found that so enticing. It's something I got to explore for 4 years. And then last but not least, I never really expected I could afford college. I spent a lot of my senior year of high school kind of applying to scholarships to try to fund my college education. And I was really fortunate to get a really generous scholarship from the university that just made it so that this had to be the place I had to be. And I kind of just loved that, because that was just a symbol that this was the place for me. It was kind of just like, I feel like kind of destiny, and I enrolled at Berkeley and never looked back. And I would say that if you're deciding between other schools, you know, you kind of just do have to take a leap of faith at some point. There's so many wonderful schools out there. UC Berkeley is one option. I think it's a fantastic option, and maybe it'll work out for you.
Oh my God, thank you all for sharing your Berkeley stories. Those were all super great. I'm gonna quickly share a screen and give you other ways to connect with us. Obviously, you guys got an opportunity to ask Q&A throughout the entire hour, but there might be more that you're interested in. So first of all, I know right now a virtual tour might not be the same as an in-person tour, but the next best thing we have is our UVisit tour. If you go to uvisit.com/Berkeley, you can kind of take, I compare it to like a Google Maps tour version of UC Berkeley. You can actually go up, you can hear audio recordings of people talking about campus, go inside of buildings, walk around some of our main areas, and just get a feel for what campus actually Berkeley looks like. You can follow us on social media at Visit UC Berkeley. I believe we have an Instagram and a Twitter that you can keep up with. You can email tour@berkeley.edu with any questions, and a student ambassador will get back to you with an answer. We have our Bear Talk blog, where a lot of people, such as campus ambassadors, just like ourselves, write about their different Berkeley stories or different experiences, whether it be study abroad, whether it be with the SLC or other clubs that they're involved in. beartalk.berkeley.edu. We recorded today's panel, but there's also a bunch of other virtual panels and just general visits at Visit UC Berkeley on YouTube. This past year, we celebrated 150 years of women on our campus. So you can check out what we did for that celebration at 150w.berkeley.edu. There's also a link to our admissions presentation if you have any questions on that specifically, admissions.berkeley.edu/visit. And then lastly, these are a bunch of links, but want to make sure you're getting where you need to go after this, virtual visits and engineering visits at visit.berkeley.edu. So there's a bunch of links that you guys can access and learn a little bit more about UC Berkeley and the Campus Ambassador family. But yeah, lastly, thank you all for joining us for this hour. As I said at the beginning, just appreciate you taking an hour out of your day to join us and hear about just our university and something that we're super proud and passionate about. And again, thank you to our 3 panelists for doing an amazing job and answering all of the questions that came through the Q&A today. But with that, I'll ask all of our panelists to unmute themselves, and we'll do a Go Bears on 3 to end the tour. Okay, so if you guys want to unmute yourselves, we'll do a Go Bears. Okay, Go Bears on 3. 1, 2, 3. Go Bears!
Go Bears!